Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk with Tom. My name is Tom. Oh, God. Let's talk with Tom, and that's me. I'm Tom. This is a new room which we'll be filming Let's Talk in the new Roundtable headquarters. And I'm totally not kidnapped by a foreign government and being asked to make videos about cartoons. I know there's an echo because we haven't soundproofed this room enough yet. I mean, we've tried. We've made an effort. We've done something. Also, I'm just writing on the walls like a madman because that's what we're at. That's the point we're at right now. So today we're going to talk about We Bare Bears. We Bare Bears is a show about three bears who are brothers, I assume adopted because they aren't even the same species, and also based on the story that we're told, it seems like they haven't known each other their entire lives just from a very young age. So We Bare Bears, it's a good show. It's a very good show. I honestly don't know what to say about this show for the most part, because a lot of it's already been said. It's a good show. Like, there's not that much to unpack here. It's a quality show. It's one of those shows that you turn on and it makes you feel good. There's a lot of negativity out there on the internet when it comes to like, oh, I like this thing, you like that thing, whatever. But like, in my opinion, I think the most important thing about anything that you consume when it comes to media is, does it make you feel good? Does it make you happy? And sometimes does it make you sad? Because sometimes stuff that makes you sad is like really good. But this is one of those shows where it's just kind of like, yeah, I feel good watching this show. It's got a positive vibe. It's got Estelle singing the intro. It's got all sorts of positivity around it. And it's just bears. Bears trying to survive capitalism. That's kind of what it is. And also, Russians. On the surface, though, it seems like just kind of a lighthearted cartoon, just like a little comedy thing. You know, it doesn't really have a whole lot going on behind that. And I know I just said, like, there's not a lot to unpack here, but there's also some stuff we gotta unpack. The more you watch We Bare Bears, the more you realize it's actually a pretty well thought out show. Little things like character quirks have a reason behind them, and they have an origin. And man, that echo is really like... It's like a speech jammer in here. It's like I say something, I hear it come back to me. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of fitting that I can write on this wall, because it's like, the more I hear my voice, the more I'm just like getting ready to just like write all over the walls, just be like, you know, that's a hammerhead now. But the more you watch this show, the more you kind of realize that there's a lot of care put into the world building and the characters. And a lot of the series is kind of one-off episodes. They're kind of average, but there are also some really, really strong gems in there. You got Grizz, who's a grizzly bear. You got Panda, or Pan, or whatever, who's a panda bear. And you got Ice Bear, who is a polar bear. And each one of these bears has an episode specifically describing their origin. Personally, I think Ice Bear has the best one, just because Ice Bear as a character is kind of like the straight man, but at the same time, he's used a lot for humor, just because he kind of has like these random tendencies. Like, he always talks in the third person. He has an axe, which seems like there's no reason why he would have an axe. It's just, oh, it's a bear with an axe. And it's just kind of like stuff where it seems like it's meant to just be zany and just be quirky. But then in Yuri and the Bear, we're introduced to the caretaker of Ice Bear, his father figure, who spoke in the third person and made Ice Bear chop wood with an axe. And it kind of gives meaning to these little quirks that he has. Like, it's not just, hey, let's just make him this zany character. It's like, let's give him these quirks that set him apart from everyone else, and then give him a reason to have those quirks. Then Grizz's origin, it's not really an origin episode, because the way they format the origin episodes with Ice Bear and Panda are they just open up the episode and they're kids, and they just kind of tell the story without any context. And it works because it's a simple enough premise where you can put two and two together and be like, oh, this is an origin episode. Especially when they do this more than once. And they do some there with all the bears. But with Grizz's origin story, it just starts out like a regular episode. Alpha J actually has a video on this episode specifically. It's really good. If you don't know who Alpha J is, or if you do know who he is and you haven't seen it, go check out that video. And as Jay says, like, they kind of took a idea from SpongeBob where Grizz goes to a restaurant and does like this burrito eating challenge. When the final burrito comes out, he's just like in love with the burrito and he doesn't want to eat it, and then like after a while it just starts getting gross and everyone's like, bro, you gotta do something with that burrito, like it's rotting. And they did the same thing with SpongeBob, where SpongeBob made like a perfect Krabby Patty and he refused to eat it or let anyone else eat it, and then it just got really gross over time. But the thing is they didn't just do this for the sake of comedy. They did this because there's a reason for it. And they cut back to a flashback to when Grizz was a very young cub and he was stuck up in a tree, and then a firefighter came and rescued him. And basically like the warmth of the burrito and everything just kind of like reminded him of being saved by that firefighter, like subconsciously. Like he didn't understand why, but it was a childhood, like, I don't even know, like I'm not well versed enough in like childhood psychology, even though I took a college class on it one time. I'm not that well, I don't understand childhood trauma and stuff enough to be able to be like, oh, well, you see, the connection there was a thing like me. I'm not a fucking psychologist, but they don't do things just to do things in this show. And I really like that. They actually give meaning behind things. Another thing this show does a really good job of is introducing the side characters and also just making side characters. Like all the side characters are pretty cool. Like they're some of the best parts of the show. My favorite is Charlie, just because like he's like this they basically took Bigfoot and they turned him into like this lovable like redneck type of character. Like his hillbilly demeanor is just kind of used as like comic relief, and it's funny, but it doesn't like really make fun of him, but it's not making fun of him, if that makes any sense. Like it's just him being himself. He's just who he is, and then that's funny. Like just his lack of boundaries and his lack of self-awareness is funny, and he just does whatever he wants.
Here's another one of my regular hangouts. Even got myself a spare key.
He's just like this chaotic force in the show that makes everything more interesting. And then there's also Chloe, who's a 10-year-old who's in college. I actually really like how they write her character, because like clearly if you're 10 and you're in college, you're really smart, but they don't forget the fact that she's 10. Like they still write her like someone who has experienced 10 years of life, despite how smart she is. Being smart doesn't automatically make you like more mature. It doesn't give you more life experience. It just makes you smart. It doesn't age you up. It just makes you smart. It just means you know things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you understand like social nuance or just the things that come with age. Also, I just really like how they draw characters, like the human characters, like just the background characters, because it's like there's so much diversity, not just like in race, but just like different types of people. Like they really try and represent all different types of people from all different walks of life. And it's amazing. Like I've heard plenty of cartoonists say that writing and drawing is essentially the same thing, in the sense that when you draw, you're telling a story whether you know it or not. And when you look in the background of the show, you can tell, because there's a story going on. Even if it's not specifically being thought of, there's still a story there. There's still just a incredibly accurate portrayal of the world that we live in. And probably the most endearing part of the show is just the world that it's set in. Like there's just little details like rideshare apps and Korean spas and hipster restaurants that, like, I mean, maybe not everyone can look at that and be like, oh yeah, you know, that's the world we live in. But like, as someone who kind of lives in a metropolitan area of a big city, like this is a pretty good representation of what I see the world as. So that resonates with me personally, and that's something that I can appreciate. And our big thing that I can just really appreciate coming out of this show is the fact that it kind of feels like an old Cartoon Network show just taking on the modern world. Like it kind of feels like Billy and Mandy without like any sort of supernatural stuff. And it's just the same style of like commentary, the same style of dealing with these issues, and the same type of humor and everything. It's cool. It's cool to see that. It's cool to see an evolution of the way that cartoons just look at the world. I think that the moral of this whole show is, if you ever feel like you don't fit into society, just go out in the woods and live there. Thank you for watching Let's Talk with Tom on the Roundtable, but Tom isn't just on the Roundtable. I have my own self-titled personal channel, I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, I have a Snapchat, I have all that good stuff. In fact, I even have a Tumblr. So, if you're interested in any of that, check that out, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!